Good evening, race fans, and welcome to round number 4 for the Next Gen Cup Thursday Night Series here with Doghouse Racing League, presented to you by Shoney's. My name is Mason Heimbaugh with Team Goon Squad, bringing you tonight's action in 1080p 60 frames a second. We had a slight change of schedule for tonight. We were initially set to do 125 miles at Bristol, but because iRacing threw in a wrench in the gears for everyone and decided to change how the car handles entirely, there are a few tracks that unfortunately did not get the same attention that certain tracks did. So here at Charlotte, we are going to see how these cars perform after the update, and so far the consensus is not good. 1.5 mile long tracks here, so I've been told by Daniel Wilkerson, the owner and driver here in the Next Gen Cup Thursday Night Series, has informed me that we will probably no longer see pack racing after this update. So we will see if that holds true and how that's going to play out for the rest of this series here. As qualifying has now begun, we are going to go ahead and take a look at the drivers now making their way around the track to get themselves timed. And right now, Dylan Hervaten, Richard Mendanka, I believe, is another driver that is the first time that I've seen out here today. So great jobs, great work to see more fresh faces come out onto the field. Daniel Wilkerson also out on field. Leander Johnson, Andrew Pratt, Dylan Hervaten going down into the bottom wall on the back stretch. That's going to eat up that 47 machine. Look at the carnage done to that machine. But the 46 of Richard Mendanka, currently second for provisional pole at this time right now. He's going to start out on the front of the field, but that's not going to hold. He's going to start out first now. He's completed his 2 qualifying laps, so having started being at the top of the grid at this point in time, it's a great thing to start. So we'll see if that holds true, as there's still a few more drivers making their way around the track for today's race. We have Andrew Williams in the 51 going to be making his first time lap here once he crosses the checkered line. And I believe we also have Justin McMahon also completing his second lap. He's going to place himself on the top of the starting grid, just above Richard Mendanka. And you can see Richard just behind 0.6 of a second. 0.06 of a second, excuse me. So very, very tight gap between the top 2 drivers here tonight. And you can kind of see it splits off just a little bit from there. Nearly 1/4 of a second gap from first to third place. So kind of interesting to see that here, and it might just be due to the updates that iRacing has done here, as Andrew Williams has completed his first time lap, getting a little wobbly there. It's into the wall on the front stretch and down into pit wall. That is, folks, and like I said, as I've been told, this might be just what we see a lot of tonight. Andrew Corr in the number 16 also seems to be struggling just a little bit as well. A lot of these guys have already mentioned that these cars are just not the same. They're definitely a little bit harder to handle, I would say, just from what I'm seeing right now. And I'm sure that it's going to play forward into tonight's race, but hopefully, as I'm sure all of the other drivers are hoping for as well, that it does get updated and fixed for the future. But drivers are going to suffer through it tonight and put on the best show that they can, the best race that they can. Kevin Thompson in the number 21 machine, going to be about halfway through his second time lap right now. Going to be coming out of turn 4 right now. It's Kevin Thompson in that 21. He's 10th place on the starting grid. Coming across that checkered line. And that's going to put him in 3rd place right now. Jeff Martin is going to be one of the only other drivers out on track right now, putting down a timed lap. This will be his first lap around the track as well. Now there's also a good handful of drivers here that are not out on track, not completing their qualifying. So rolling right into the starting grid here, having a few drivers that didn't even bother to qualify. They said, you know what, we're just gonna wing it. Justin McMahon starting out in first place in that number 20 machine, with Richard Mandonka in second place in that number 46, rounding out your first row. Kevin Thompson in the 21 in third. Dylan Hervatin in that number 47 going to be starting in fourth place, rounding out your second row. Michael Schemia in that number 1 machine, starting out in fifth place. Andrew Pratt in sixth in that number 75 machine. That's going to round out your third row. Adam Gardner in the number 56, starting out in seventh place. Daniel Wilkerson in the number 78, starting out in eighth place. Jonathan Jennings in ninth. Andrew Williams in 10th. Leander Johnson going to be starting out in 11th. Andrew Corr going to be starting out there in 12th place. Dustin Lee starting out in 13th. Nick Reynolds in 14th. Jeff Martin going to be in 15th. Christopher Simon in 16th. Kirk Schweitzer in 17th. Christopher Leftwich in 18th. Randall Barnett in 19th. Eric Peck in 20th. Doug Soames in 21st. Mike Leftwich in 22nd, and Bill Petrov in 23rd, rounding out the field here tonight. 23 drivers that we're going to be having here tonight at Charlotte in North Carolina. Going to be a good race here that I think we're gonna expect to see, but on the other hand, I think we're also going to see a little bit of carnage for this race here today. I think it's just kind of bound to happen. With the setup having changed for quite literally everyone, these cars handle extremely differently. And if I'm not mistaken, this update was released yesterday. So drivers have only had, give or take, 24, 48 hours to figure this out and figure this car out, how the best way to handle is going to be. And I think that is just absolutely insane, for one. And it's amazing how much different that these cars are handling it. So it would seem that it's causing issues for a lot of drivers. I'm gonna expect to see a lot of interesting things to happen here tonight. 56 laps that we're gonna be taking here around Charlotte Motor Speedway, so it's not gonna be a terribly long race, but it will be a very interesting one as far as how long are these guys going to keep these cars together, keep them off the wall. Perhaps what we were seeing in practice and early on, might have just been kind of working out the kinks, figuring out where you can really push these cars, and that very well could be the case. So again, we're going to see here what happens with Justin McMahon and Richard Mandonka starting out on the front row. Dylan Hervatin and Kevin Thompson in that second row, and Andrew Pratt and Michael Schemia in that third row. Pace car is in. The green flag will fly. And here we go. And we already have a car sideways. Oh no. Kevin Thompson's going to be involved in this one as well. Oh, man. Who was that other driver? Was that the 47? Yes, it was the 47 of Dylan Hervatin. Oh, got on the loud pedal just a little bit too much, it looked like. It sent that car sideways. There was no caution that came of it, though. No. Oh, we have more carnage out in front. The 13, Christopher Leftwich, is sideways. He's stuck down on the bottom line. There goes the first caution of the night. Let's take a look at what happened here to Christopher Leftwich and see if we can't get a nice, good view of what happens here for this number 13. We're taking things a little bit in slow motion. Oh, the 9 goes sideways, and it looks like I can't exactly tell who that is in front of that 13, but he collides with another driver. They keep it together, but Christopher going all over the place. He's still low on the track, so he's not exactly in harm's way, but here's where things get a little dicey for him. He stops right here, right on the low line, right on the bottom of the racetrack here. He's lucky that there was no one else around. Everyone can clearly see him, so very, very, very spicy restarts that we're seeing. A start, rather. Not even a restart. This is just the beginning of this race here, and it's already proving to be extremely spicy, to say the least. I wasn't exactly sure what to expect coming into the night, knowing that there was an update to these cars and just how they work. Now, I speak of this update. If you're not familiar with iRacing, if you're not a racer in general, basically what I'm talking about is iRacing did some work to the code of this car and made it comply with NASCAR standards. Whatever that might mean is ultimately up to you to figure out, I suppose, because the information that they gave everyone was fairly vague. So exactly what they changed, I couldn't tell you, but they did make it seemingly to the point where these cars are almost undrivable, as we are seeing here. A lot of carnage happening right out of the gate. Hopefully it improves as things go on here. Guys kind of figure out, all right, I need to be a little bit more gentle, a little bit more cautious with that throttle on the start. Maybe it's especially on turns 1 and 2 that I've been told as well. I think that was actually for Bristol, if I'm not mistaken. So turns 2 and 4 are where things will get very interesting from what I've been told. Spin-offs, we're going to see collisions. I think we're going to see guys getting into the wall, and we've already seen it already, and it's only lap 4 of 56. So, you know, and you can't blame these drivers. We've seen that these drivers are very, very capable of racing, and I think ultimately what's going to be to blame here is the updated next gen cup car here. So with that in mind, going forward, if it doesn't improve, well, these guys are going to be in for a learning curve, and that's just going to make the racing just a little bit more interesting, as everyone's kind of playing on an even playing field at that point. But with that out of the way, pace car is back into pit road, and we are going to be racing here once again as the green flag flies. Richard Mendonca in that number 46 machine, taking it away from the rest of the field. Justin McMahon kind of being left in the dust, nearly a half a second gap now being put between the 46 of Richard Mendonca and that 20 of Justin McMahon. Justin now being followed by the 75 of Andrew Pratt. And we have some battles happening throughout this field here. We have Leander Johnson. He's got some. Oh, we got Christopher Leftwich involved in an incident here. It seems like I'm not exactly sure what happened. The caution didn't come of it, so must not have been too bad. It might have been a one-car incident there. So hopefully that 13's able to make its way back out on track here. But Leander Johnson on the tail of the 54 of Nick Reynolds, looking to try and possibly find a spot where he get a little bit more speed. and he might be able to make that happen here, but he's got the 35 of Christopher Simon just behind him, closing in on that low line. They're going to be door-to-door here very quickly if that 32 of Leander Johnson can't keep that speed going. He goes extremely high, though. That's going to come at a cost, and there he goes. Christopher Simon taking it away and also granting Eric Peck in that 61 machine an opportunity to get around as well. And looks like Eric is also on the hunt of the 35 of Christopher Simon, trying to get as close as he can. He's going to take that bottom line here, coming into turn 3. We're going to see what happens coming out of turn 4. Looks like Eric Peck is going to be the one to take it away coming down. Oh, excuse me, that was actually a turn 2. But Eric Peck's still doing great work, but Christopher Simon, not exactly, he's not going to give that up with much ease here. Andrew Williams in that number 51 machine. We're kind of looking through the whole field here. We're trying to see all the battles that are happening as much as we possibly can. There's a lot of guys on this track right now, all contending for spots. So we're going to do our best to keep up with all of them as much as we can. Michael Schemia in that number 1 machine. You can see him just on the inside of the 51 of Andrew Williams. The one of Michael Schemia able to get out just enough in front to take that number 4 spot from Andrew Williams. Andrew going to be left in a position where he's going to have to start defending here. He's got Nick Reynolds behind him in that number 54, and also Eric Peck just trailing behind. We've seen Eric work his way through this field incredibly fast. Eric Peck up 13 positions from where he started today, so it's absolutely incredible. Look at that field, too, coming down the backstretch. Absolutely fantastic view. Some of these guys bobbing and weaving all over this track, getting up into the wall just a little bit as they come out of that exit on turn 2. Coming down the front stretch, across the finish line. Andrew Williams going to be holding off a handful of drivers here. Looking back here, and 13th, Mike Leftwich in the number 60 machine. He's got Jonathan Jennings in the 95 just behind him on his outside. Jonathan, not quite enough speed up there in that middle line. Doesn't seem like there's really much opportunity to make overtakes in that spot. So not sure what Jonathan's going to be trying to do here, but as I say that, he pulls a switcheroo. He's down low of the number 60 of Mike Leftwich. Jonathan able to make a pass. Dylan Hervatin as well, following the draft of Jonathan. He's able to overtake the 60 of Mike Leftwich as well. Dylan Hervatin down 10 positions from where he started after that incident right at the start of this race. Having started, I believe, 4th. He got on the pedal just a little bit too much too early. And that ultimately caused him to spin out down onto the grass, onto the front stretch. But he's making the best of it. 14th place right now. He's just going to be chipping away at that field, trying to work his way up into the top. Richard Mandonka, though, we took a little bit of a break looking at these guys up here at front just to give them a break, see what happens. And right now, Justin McMahon and Andrew Pratt, these guys are both within striking distance, especially that number 20 of Justin McMahon. You can see him creeping on the inside of that 46. He might have a shot here coming down the backstretch into turn 3. Is it going to work? No. The 46 throws the block. He makes sure that Justin McMahon does not have any room to get around him. Very smart play here. Lap 15 of 56. We're going to be just about to that halfway point here very, very shortly as well. So things are going to be I'm surprised that these guys are getting this figured out as quickly as they are. I'm very impressed. It's very good work that these guys are doing here, having during practice, seeing the things that we saw. It was looking to be a very spicy race tonight. So I'm glad to see that these guys are putting on some green laps here and getting comfortable in these cars, and maybe they're liking it a little bit more. Maybe they absolutely hate it. We'll have to ask the drivers after the post-race interviews or during the post-race interviews and get their thoughts on these setups here tonight and just see how these cars handle. But let's take a look at some of these battles happening here in the kind of the center of the field. Dylan Hervatin in 10th place right now. He's got Jonathan Jennings in the 95 behind him. Like I said, Dylan Hervatin going to be working his way through this field, just chipping away as much as he possibly can. Currently working his way around the 63 of Brandon Barnett, and he's essentially towing along the 95 of Jonathan Jennings. Jonathan not really letting that 47 get away from him too much. Now Daniel Wilkerson in that number 78 machine, he's been comfortable right there in 8th place. He hasn't moved up or down any position, so he's been comfortable right there. And now Dylan Hervatin is going to be looking to change that here, and will Daniel see that and throw that block and make sure that that doesn't happen? We'll keep an eye and see how that works out here. These guys are going to be too wide here. A little bit of pack. Look, you know, and I think that Daniel was right when he said that we won't see a whole lot of pack racing, because what we're seeing right now, it's definitely not pack racing. This is a definitely very spread out field, I would say. And I'm not exactly sure if that's just purely based on the setup alone, the car, or if that's just this track. I couldn't say for certain, but I'm going to assume that it is the car, that it is the setup, and that some of these guys just might not be a huge fan of it. So, like I said, we'll get some more information, post-race interviews, and see exactly what these guys think. But let's take a look at some of these battles happening here in 7th place. Eric Peck in that number 61 machine. He's worked his way up 13 positions. He's kind of locked himself in this 7th place spot right now. I don't think he's worked his way up any further. He's got Andrew Pratt in the 75 that he's going to have to... Oh, no, looks like we have a crash. A caution is out. I'm not exactly sure. Oh, no. Andrew Corr, Doug Solms, Adam Gardner looks like going to be involved in a wreck here. Let's take a look at exactly what the cause of this one was. So we're looking at Andrew Corr in the number 16 machine. He's going to be on the outside of the 18 of Dustin Lee. Oh, it's actually in front of him. So we have the 60 involved of Mike Leftwich involved in this incident. So let's take things back just a little bit further. And then we will see exactly what happens here from the perspective of the 60 of Mike Leftwich. And excuse me for that. Folks, removing chat messages that don't need to be there, that are inappropriate, but Mike Leftwich, he's going to be in the center line looking like he's trying to dodge drivers that are already wrecking in front of him. Ah, man. I want to see if there is another angle that we can find here, but it does not look like I will be granted that opportunity. So but as the field gets themselves re-racked here, and I get myself locked back in with the action here, now that the bots have gone away from our chat here and can leave us in peace once again, we can get things going here Richard Mandonka still leading this field, doing a great job. Sean Thompson out in the chat saying good luck to Kevin Thompson in that number 21 machine, who we saw doing a great job for quite some time, and I believe he was involved in a few incidents. That 21 machine looking a little banged up here at the moment, but we're going to see if he makes his way back out onto track. Not certain if that's going to happen here right now, but we'll keep an eye out on that number 21 machine and check back in with him once things get sort of rolling here once again. So now Richard Mandonka, the second caution coming out for tonight. I have to say, for Richard, this isn't exactly best case scenario, but he's already shown that he's capable of staying out in front of this field even with the disadvantage of this car just seemingly not being too favorable. But it seems like some of these guys are able to make it work for him, and Richard in that 46 machine might be one of those drivers here. Michael Schemia in the number 1, and Richard Williams also joining him in that as well. And Richard just going to be absorbing the pace car and going to become one with it. So Richard out there obviously looking like he's having a great time leading this field, and having done so for the majority of this race so far. I think actually this entire race so far, and being to just about the halfway point, 3 more laps to go, I think, and we're at that point. This is where things are going to get very, very, very interesting for all of these drivers here. But before we get started into that, we're going to have a quick message from our sponsor, Shoney's. Shoney's of West Virginia. Doghouse Racing League's Thursday Night Cup Series is proud to be sponsored by Shoney's. Shoney's is open daily for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Stop by one of their West Virginia locations to try their freshly prepared legendary breakfast bar and take home a whole strawberry pie. Shoney's, delicious food and friendly service since 1947. Stop by any one of their locations in West Virginia if you are a native of that area. You can see on your screen currently all of the locations that they have there in West Virginia. Stop by and have some of their food and let me know if it's somewhere I should visit when I go to West Virginia myself. I know that it will probably be one of the first places that I want to check out if I ever do. But with that out of the way, we are going to get rocking and rolling here as the green flag flies. Once again, Richard Mandonka in that 46 machine, taking it away from the rest of this field, as he's done time and time again here. The first start, and the first restart on the first caution. So Andrew Williams and Michael Schemia are going to be battling it out here. We also have Nick Reynolds in the number 54 machine also going to be involved in this battle here as well. You can see just trailing behind the number 1 and Michael Schemia. Andrew Williams, these guys, both Michael and Andrew, going to be side by side coming into turn 3 out of turn 4 into the front stretch. I'm getting my places wrong on the track again. Excuse me, that was turn 1 and 2. We're going into turn 3 and 4 now with Andrew Williams on the outside, still holding on to second place, but Michael Schemia just barely squeezing out in front of the 51, able to take away that second place position. So some great battles happening here out even in the front of the field, but even just behind them, 6th place, we have drivers duking it out almost side by side for even just a split of a second. We have the number 9, Jeff Martin, Justin McMahon just behind him in that number 20 machine, who we just saw battling it out there for just a second. Jeff Martin going high there for a little bit. That's going to open the door for Justin McMahon in that number 20 machine to gain some speed, get behind the 35, get in that draft, and allow himself to garner a little bit more speed and make an opportunity for himself to make a pass happen, or even just push the car in front of him, essentially give him a little bit more speed and allow that pass to happen itself. But the 35 of Christopher Simon has been on a mission here tonight. Christopher Simon, Jeff Martin, Nick Reynolds, all three of these drivers have all worked their way up 10 positions from where they started at the beginning of this race. So all of these guys seem to know what they're doing here and look a little comfortable in these machines here tonight. But Jeff Martin got a little bit of bumper damage as it would seem there on the front of that number 9 machine, but it doesn't seem to be impacting him too much. Hopefully it hasn't damaged any of his anything on the inside of his car. So everything looking fairly solid there. It looks like we had Christopher Simon drop down onto below the line there for just a second. Not exactly sure what happened there, but it looks like Randall Barnett, Andrew Pratt, all of these guys going to be duking it out here, coming down the back stretch, going into turn 3. You can see Andrew Pratt in the 75 on the inside of the 18 of Dustin Lee. Andrew Pratt making his way around the 18 to take that 9th place spot. Andrew Pratt now behind the 61 of Eric Peck, who Eric Peck is still up 12 positions from where he started, but it seems like he's kind of found himself in the same spot, not able to really get anywhere past that. And then looking at our track map here, if you look at the bottom right-hand side of your screen, you'll kind of notice that this field really hasn't spread out too much. Now, that could also be attributed to the fact that we did just come out of a restart for our second caution. That very likely could have a lot to do with it. So, wouldn't surprise me if that was the causing factor for that. But even with the changes to these cars, these guys are still able to stay relatively close to one another and keep this racing exciting. So, great work to these drivers. Even if they ultimately don't like how these cars handle now or how they drive, it still seems to be that they're able to put on good racing. So, again, hopefully it changes for them in the future if they truly don't like it. But right now it seems like they've worked out the kinks and have locked things in here a little bit. But we're gonna look back here in the front of the field. We got Andrew Williams. Oh, Michael Schemia dropping down into pit road, looking like he's gonna start pit cycles here tonight. 22 laps left to go here. Drivers only have 50% fuel for this race here. Now, if you're looking in the first and the second caution, some of these guys opted to stay out. Some of these guys came down into pit road, whether that was to get an extra set of tires or get a little bit more fuel to finish out the race. Whatever decisions were made, some of these guys did opt to make that decision. Now, Justin McMahon is going to be our leader here as he takes the first place spot from Richard Mandonka. These guys still going to be side by side, though, coming down the back stretch, going into turn 3. Justin McMahon's going to fall behind the 46 of Richard Mandonka. He's going to go wide, though. The 46, yep, there he goes. He's going to let that 20 go on by. Richard Mandonka going to start his pit cycle. That's going to open the door for the 20 of Justin McMahon to lead some laps here tonight. And hopefully maybe even take away a win for tonight if he plays his cards correctly. Justin McMahon has also already come down into pit road once. He came down on lap 22. So he might be all right. He might be able to stay out for the remainder of this race and be perfectly okay. So we'll keep an eye on that as that develops here. But Jonathan Jennings in that number 95 machine, he's going to be getting very, very close here to some guys having some bad, having some side-by-side battles here. So it would seem Randall Barnett in that number 63 here going to be having some battle for fourth. Right now, the 95, Jonathan Jennings, going on the inside, coming out of turn 4, down the front stretch across the checkered line. The 95 able to just squeeze out of the 63. There he goes, gets out in front of Randall Barnett, secures that fourth place spot. Jonathan Jennings only one position away from cracking into the top 3 here tonight. That would be an excellent gain for points for that number 95 for Jonathan Jennings. Now that it looks like the rest of the field has come down into pit road, with only 17 laps left to go here, it's gonna be a shootout all the way to the end here. These guys are going to be giving it their all until the very end. Bill Petroff in the number 30 machine has worked his way up 16 positions from where he started here tonight. He's in 7th right now. He's got the 47 of Dylan Hervatin just in front of him in 5th place. Now, if Bill is able to keep the pressure on this 47, if he's able to crack down on it in the inside of that 47, he might be able to get himself into the top 5 here tonight before this race ends. 16 laps left to go here. It might seem like a lot, but it's definitely going to click by before your very eyes here. These guys are ripping around this track 170 to 180 miles an hour, and this track is a mile and a half long. So if you do the math, you'll figure out very quickly that these guys are able to get around here very quickly. Or if you just don't feel like doing math and just want to look at the top of your screen, you'll get an idea of how fast these guys are actually going around the track. Those are your lap times that you are seeing just below the driver names, just to give you an idea of how fast it takes these guys to rip it around Charlotte Motor Speedway here. But all of these guys, like I said, even despite the changes to this car, have all done an incredible job keeping this race green for as long as they have. It's only 2 cautions that we've seen, and like I said at the beginning, we were told that it might be a little bit worse, but I am absolutely glad to see that these guys are going green for as long as they have and racing as hard as they are, despite these changes. So really great to see. And again, we will ask these guys just kind of how they feel about the changes to the car and what they think should be different, if they think anything should be different. So we'll get some thoughts, we'll get some ideas, and let everyone know how that works. But right now, Bill Petroff in that number 30 machine, who we've been watching here for just a little while now, down on the inside of the 47 of Dylan Hervatin, going to be able to stick it out in front. There he goes. Bill Petroff is now in 4th place, but Dylan Hervatin not going to let that go very easily. The 47 still putting up a fight. He's saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to try and get back out in front of this number 30. He might be able to do so here, just barely. But Bill Petroff taking advantage of that low line. He's able to gain a little bit more speed. Dylan Hervatin having to let off a little bit more to avoid hitting that wall coming out of these turns. So great work there from the 47 of Dylan Hervatin, being at the disadvantage of being on that outside. And now actually it looks like Bill being held up by the 63 of Randall Barnett. And Randall letting Dylan Hervatin on by. Not exactly. There might be a little bit of teamwork going on here as well, so that very well could be the case of what's going on here. So, but right now, Bill Petroff is looking to try and get around the 63 now of Randall Barnett, as these guys are going to almost go side by side here for just a moment. But we're going to go back here to some of these guys that are trailing towards the back of the field here, just to kind of give you an idea of where drivers are, how the field has sort of spread out as we only have 10 laps left to go here. 9 as the leader crosses the line. Andrew Pratt going to be in 12th place right now. He's got Nick Reynolds in the 54 down on his inside. And Nick Reynolds going to be passing him too, like he's almost standing still there. Andrew Pratt in that 75. He came down into pit road lap 40 as well. Nick Reynolds coming in lap 37. So not exactly sure if there's some issues in that 75 that he's just not too happy with. Might be experiencing some difficulties outside of his control. So again, there's some drivers here that might enjoy the way that these cars are handling currently. There's some drivers that might absolutely hate it, and that's totally understandable. So we've already heard rumors or word that there will be a fix for these cars. What that fix entails, I couldn't tell you, but hopefully going into the next race at Pocono, that things are a little bit better for these guys, and we'll see a little bit more, I would say, pack racing, and not the field spread out as quickly as we have seen here tonight at Charlotte. But even with that in mind, we've still seen a lot of great racing here, even despite that that action happening. So, but Andrew Pratt right now, the 63 of passing some lap traffic here, it would seem. But we're looking for some battles here on track right now. Since this field is kind of spread out a little bit, drivers are either in their lonesome or kind of in two-car battles. And speaking of two-car battles, Dylan Hervatten has now worked his way back up into the top 5. He's actually up 1 position from where he started. Now remember, he started 4th at the beginning of this race, got loose at the start, found himself way at the back of the field. I think actually last actually, and he's now back up here running for 3rd right now. He's got the 30 of Bill Petrov just behind him. You can see him now in this view here coming down the front stretch. The 51 of Andrew Williams here is actually in 11th place right now, but was just down a lap. He's now trying to work his way around the leaders to unlap himself. But with 4 laps left to go here, Justin McMahon, Jonathan Jennings are both in their lonesome, essentially. They're not exactly anywhere near drivers that they have to worry about. So with 3 laps left to go, these guys are just going to have to keep it together and keep things running here, keep things going. So Dylan Hervatten, having done a great job working his way back through the field all the way back to 3rd place. Great work there. Bill Petrov in the number 30 machine also having done a great job here working his way through the field, up 19 positions. Great work from that number 30 machine of Bill Petrov. Randall Barnett in the number 63, who we can't exactly see in that view, but he's just trailing behind. Going to be rounding out the top 5 in that number 63 machine. So having done great work here tonight, all of these guys done well. But Justin McMahon right now, the leader of this race, having taken it away from Michael Schemia, or excuse me, Justin McMahon, excuse me, having taken away the lead here. Did a great job here tonight as the checkered flag has come out here. Justin McMahon going to cross the checkered line. Jonathan Jennings as well. Dylan Hervatten. Bill Petrov as well in 4th place right now. A lot of these guys going to be lot of these guys are going to be coming across the line sort of in their lonesome here, but as we kind of work our way through the grid here, we'll get an idea of just where everyone is at and where they're going to finish. Now, Andrew Pratt looking like he had a moment. Bill Petroff as well. Some drivers opting to come down into pit road. And that is going to be the conclusion of our race here tonight, folks. Of the Carolina 84, and I gotta say, it was very, very interesting racing that we had all night, even with the updates to the car that seemingly a lot of drivers were just having struggles with, just having some issues with. So we are going to go ahead and get started with some post-race interviews. Up first, we're going to have Dylan Hervaten going to be starting off our post-race interviews here today. So we're going to get that 47 machine in here very quickly. Let's see here. All right, let's go ahead and get Dylan Hervaten in here. Dylan, sir, can you read me?
I got you. What's going on?
Dylan, you had quite the race here tonight in that number 47. Right out of the gate, that 47, we saw you in 4th place. Were you just a little happy on the throttle there, or what happened there?
No, the old package, you could usually start from 1st gear and then go from there. And as soon as I got on the throttle and shifted to 2nd, it just got sideways. I don't know if it was the gear shift or getting to a certain RPM. I didn't shift fast enough or whatever it was. But either way, happy to bring the Southern Airways Express 47 home, 3rd place. I did not expect that after where I started and how my qualifying run went and how the race was going and everything. So all I can take from that is that you don't quit till it's over.
Absolutely, Dylan. And one thing I got to ask you too, and I'm going to be asking everyone here in their post race interviews. So, what was kind of your thoughts on how the car handled tonight? I explained to the broadcast that iRacing did do an update to these next gen cups, and I got the consensus that it wasn't generally liked by most drivers, but I want to hear it from you, hear it from the other guys. What's your thought on these cars, and how do you think they handled tonight?
Yeah, so I mean, for me, I know my race didn't show it, but I actually feel like this new package plays into my driving style a little bit. Definitely got to practice it a little bit more. Some tracks is difficult. This is actually the only track that I've done it on so far, other than that, in the Coliseum. But I do like it. It definitely, is not that full throttle, straight line, turn of the corner, don't worry about getting off the throttle type thing, controlling the air like a super speedway race. It's really about putting the car back in the driver's hands and really making the driver work for it. And you saw that tonight. Like I said, I think you guys even saw me wreck on my qualifying lap. I mean, that just goes to show how difficult it really is. I mean, because I'm not one to usually make tiny little mistakes like that. But when you get to the corner, the car just wants to snap out, and you really need to learn how to play with that throttle in order to get it to play in your ballpark. So yeah, like I said, it definitely puts the skill back in the driver's hands, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Well, hopefully that plays forward going into the rest of the season here. And I know that it was mentioned that there might be some updates done to kind of quote unquote fix it. So we'll see how that plays forward, Dylan. But great work tonight. Congratulations on 3rd place, Dylan. That was absolutely impressive watching you work through the field. We were kind of watching you on and off throughout the broadcast, watching your progress as you move through the field. And man, yeah, you came through right at the right time, taking home 3rd place. But before I let you go, Dylan, is there anyone at home, anyone watching the broadcast that you want to shout out or thank before you head out tonight?
Yeah, I want to thank Southern Airways Express for coming on board. We just debuted our new Beechcraft King Airs this week, so I got that on the hood. Kind of congratulate that for going on. That'll be a cool introduction to our fleet. Mokulele Airlines are alongside that. I want to give a huge shout out to my teammate Richard. I kind of feel bad. He led the whole race and had to pit and finished 10th, almost a lap down. So that sucks for him. He did put on a good show for Dylan Herberton Racing. I know my mom's out there watching, so hi. I didn't get to come in the broadcast booth last week, but she had her best friend Kim Light O'Deal on my driver's side. She passed away a couple of years ago, and it was her birthday. So I was really hoping to capitalize for her last week, but I wasn't able to get that done. So I'll give her a shout out this week. And with that, thank you guys for putting this on. Appreciate the broadcast, and hopefully we'll see you next week.
Absolutely, Dylan. Thank you for stopping up here in the booth, and again, congratulations. And hopefully we see some more success in that 47 in the future.
I promise you will.
Absolutely, Dylan. Have a great night.
Yep, you too. Thanks.
All right, that's Dylan Hervatin in the 47 machine out of the booth. Up next, we are going to have the 95 of Jonathan Jennings here in the booth with us. John, sir, can you read me?
Yes, sir.
John, you had quite an interesting race here tonight as well. You started kind of midfield. It was a very interesting start. I'm sure that you saw that we had to this race. Initially, I almost expected that it was going to be a caution fest, and that first caution definitely made it seem like it was. And then the whole field just seemed to get it together. And John, I gotta say, it definitely seemed like it was a struggle with these cars for battles and to really make them work in your favor. What's kind of your thoughts on it, and how did you make it work in your favor to pull off second place tonight?
Yeah, I qualified ninth, but I didn't grid, so I started from pit road and started at the very back. So by the time I got to the track, the caution was already out. Off throttle, I spent a lot of time off throttle to get the turn to rotate, and was able to drive off and get set up to make a pass. So made it a lot easier.
Absolutely. It definitely looked like a lot of guys were having to make little changes to just how they drive these cars compared to how they handled before, compared to now. So definitely seen that happen. But you did a great job. That 95 seems to do a great job every single week, every race. So I gotta say, John, going forward, now that the handling's kind of changed a little bit, what are you kind of expecting for the rest of the season? Now that everyone's kind of on a level playing field, so to speak.
It'll be it's more of a driver's car now, so you'll see some good racing, I think, now, because you can move up the lane, and it's a lot better than what we had.
Yeah, absolutely. It was some great racing, and I gotta say, John, you did a fantastic job. Everyone here did great work, just handling how these cars were doing here tonight. So, congratulations on your second place podium tonight. Is there anyone watching the broadcast, anyone at home that you want to give a shout out to or thank before you head out here tonight?
Yeah, congrats to Justin for the win, and you for the broadcast, and Adam for helping me.
Absolutely, John. Well, thank you for stopping up here in the booth and having a chat with me before you head out. Thank you for coming up here, and I will see you next week at Pocono.
All right, thank you.
Absolutely. Have a great night.
You too.
All right, everyone. That was Jonathan Jennings in the number 95 machine out of the booth, taking home second place for tonight. Doing great work in that number 95. But last but certainly not least, Justin McMahon taking home the win for tonight at Charlotte for the Carolina 84. Justin, sir, do you have a read?
I do.
Justin, you had quite a race here tonight, Justin. We saw at the beginning of the race, things got a little dicey, but you kept it together. You were battling with Richard Mendonca for quite some time, and Richard was leading the race for, I think it was about half the race, and he ultimately had to come down into pit road, and that played in your favor. It was ultimately just getting away from the field. And Justin, with the cars changing tonight and how things were kind of looking out on the field, what was kind of working in your favor? What was working for you, and what do you think kind of helped you take home the win for tonight?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. The new package was quite a change. The cars they're a lot different now. Really have to actually throttle control is a huge part. You really got to manage your throttle throughout the corner, especially on corner exit. I noticed that it was once the car in the long run, once the car went along, it got a little tight, so you really had to kind of manage it through there. But yeah, I don't know. It was a good race. It was fun. Still kind of hard to pass with these cars, but I think our pit strategy kind of played to our advantage. I was hoping that we were going to have another long green flag run after that caution there, and it worked out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, before the race started, I was getting some mixed messages that it might be a little bit of a caution fest depending on how things go tonight. And I honestly, I was very impressed. I was very surprised that we had the green runs that we did. There was only 2 cautions that we saw come out here tonight. So yeah, it was definitely great to see the whole field keeping it together for as long as they did, and keeping the carnage down to a minimum, even though definitely a few cars got involved in some wrecks here. So, but Justin, you did a great job here tonight, staying out in front, just keeping up with the front of the pack, and you saw some great battles here tonight going forward into the rest of the season. Now that these cars have kind of changed a little bit, what are you expecting, and what are you expecting going especially next week into Pocono?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. Practice, I think, is the key, especially with trying to figure out how these cars handle now with the new package and everything. They're super loose, it seems like, at least especially tonight, which is one of the reasons why a lot of us were thinking it was going to be a caution fest just because of how loose they were in the early part of the race. But I don't know. Going forward, I think it's just going to be a lot of practicing and kind of just getting the feel for the car, especially Pocono. Pocono's a tough track, so hopefully we'll just keep doing what we're doing and move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the rate you guys are going, you'll do just fine. And I think you'll see more success going forward. So great job, Justin. And hopefully going into Pocono next week, we'll see some similar success. So again, congratulations on taking home the win for tonight. Now, before I let you go and celebrate, is there anyone watching the broadcast, anyone at home that you want to shout out or thank before you take the night off?
Oh yeah, my brother Nick, BMF detailing, the boys at Southern Motorsports that picked me up this season, and my sister-in-law Kelly, I think she's watching too.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming up here and chatting with me in the booth, Justin. It was great having you, and it was great watching that 47 machine, that number 20 machine work its way through the field. It was absolutely great battles that we saw here tonight. So I look forward to seeing you next week at Pocono, and hopefully we can have a similar conversation again, Justin.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks.
Absolutely. Have a great night.
You too.
Alrighty, folks. That was the number 20 of Justin McMahon out of the booth. That's going to conclude the Carolina 84 here for the Next Gen Cup Thursday Night Series presented by Shoney's here with Doghouse Racing League. My name is Mason Heimbaugh with Team Goon Squad, bringing you tonight's action. I hope you all enjoyed the race. If you did, hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already to stay tuned with all the action that we have here 7 days a week here on the Team Goon Squad channel. Thank you all for tuning in, and I will see you all next week for round number 5 at Pocono. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time.
Carrington gets dumped by Benami. The leaders are winding up here. Daytona's a big one is out.